Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're going to be talking about something, I don't know, you may have heard of it, little thing called Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Final Direct, something like that. So yes, yesterday at the time of recording, it went live and I watched the whole thing, and I was live blogging about it over on nintendolife.com. And I'm going to be giving you my honest opinion about everything and just generally how I feel. Extended thoughts, it's going to be quite a loose and rambly video as, you know, these things often are, you know, they very rarely have any planning, although this time I do have some damn notes for a change. I'm not going to be covering everything because there was just so much in there, so many little things, like I'm not going to go over things like the individual brightness settings that you can have, you know, because otherwise I'm going to be here forever and I've got a life. Maybe. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's start the proper waffling. So first of all, Ken from Street Fighter, the sort of the friend and sort of friendly rival to Ryu, who's been around in the series since the beginning. I know he was definitely in Street Fighter 2, obviously. But was he in Street Fighter 1 as well? Not many people remember that there was, well, I mean, obviously people know that there was a Street Fighter 1, but it was so different, it's almost like it might not as well have existed. It's so far removed from what Street Fighter 2 set out. Yeah, Ken as an Echo Fighter, I mean, it was leaked a while ago, and I wasn't sure about that leak personally. But it turns out it was true, even down, you know, it was an actual screenshot, it wasn't just somebody predicting it and happening to get it right. It was the, you know, the right thing. It was the same pose that Ken has. I don't know whether maybe it's a sort of a common pose that he uses, but yeah, right down to the thumbs up and everything, it genuinely looks the real deal. And so, you know, fair play to people who believe that. It turned out to be true. I still don't like leaks as an idea, just generally, but even so, you know, whatever. Ken's in it now, and yeah, it's fine. I think it's a, you know, fairly obvious inclusion, to be honest, because, you know, you had Ryu and it's just an Echo Fighter, and they were so similar in the original games anyway that it was, you know, must have been a very easy transition over. Few differences here and there, but you know, it's a fine inclusion. I wasn't, you know, exactly going, oh my god, Ken's in it, but you know, at the same time, I wasn't exactly disappointed. I didn't feel like a lot of people do with characters they don't like, that it was a wasted slot, even though that's not how Smash works. I'm a little bit surprised that he wasn't revealed later on. I think maybe they were going with the whole sort of reveals thematically to a degree, because, you know, sort of the whole boxing arena and stuff like that with Ken and Little Mac, and then you had, who we're going to talk about in a minute, Incineroar. So, you know, it works in that sense, and maybe they wanted Incineroar to be the final reveal, so they did that rather than doing, you know, something like King K. Rool last. I don't know their decision, but you know, I think everyone had their expectations set massively high because of things like the Grinch leak, which I'll actually I may talk about that at the end. If the video just ends at the end, I decided not to do it. I don't know whether I am yet, but you know, I've sort of got a couple of things in my head that I'd like to say, so maybe I'll say them. I don't know. Okay, so let's move on to Incineroar. Now, again, this was another character that was leaked with no evidence per se, but lots of, you know, sort of prominent people were saying Incineroar's going to be in it, just believe me, and they were right. Again, could have been an easy, you know, a lucky guess, but I don't think so. I think generally it's weird. It's almost as if the less evidence a leak has, a supposed leak has, but if it, you know, sort of, but coming from a prominent figure, somebody who is reliable, if the less evidence they have, the more likely it is, because generally it'll just be they know someone who works on the game, or, you know, sort of is related in some way, and they just sort of say, oh yeah, you know, Incineroar's going to be in it, and, you know, that's all it is. They don't have any photo evidence. They don't have, you know, that's how leaks generally work. Although, you know, ESRB leak for Smash 3DS, that was different. Anyway, let's talk about Incineroar, eh? I wasn't a huge fan of Incineroar when, because it was Sun and Moon, wasn't it? I wasn't a huge fan of Incineroar. I thought it was fine, you know, fine character, but I was a little bit disappointed that it was another firefighting type, and it was, you know, something that looks definitely like a cat, you know, Litten with 4 legs, and then Torracat. Is it going to be like some big beastly cat? They made it bipedal and stuff like that. It felt like a sort of you know, it felt like it was going in a different direction, and then they went with the obvious. But, you know, I've warmed to the Pokemon over time. I never actively disliked it. I was just a little bit sort of meh about them. But I love what they've done with Incineroar in Smash. Just all the little touches, the animations and stuff like that. Really looks like a sort of a very, you know, bravado-full wrestler character, and I really like what they've done with it. It's brilliant. I wouldn't say that, you know, sort of when I saw Incineroar, I wasn't like, ah, Incineroar, but I was just like, oh, that's cool, that's fine, you know. It's, you know, it's a fine inclusion, not a great one, not a terrible one, but what they have done in the game with Incineroar, I really love. I think he's got a relatively unique looking moveset, and again, the animations and stuff like that, I think are really fluid and really full of character and looks really good in game as well. So I can't complain, you know, it's, you know, I think I would have preferred something like Decidueye because we don't have much grass representation, and I like green, but the execution of getting Incineroar in is just marvelous. I love it to pieces, and I'm really, really pleased with what they've done. No complaints whatsoever. And then we've got Piranha Plant, which where to even begin? When they first revealed, you know, we've got one more thing to add about characters and DLC and stuff like that. We'll talk about DLC in a minute. And they had, you know, all these Mario characters looking dizzy, oh, like that. And I thought to myself, what is this? And Mario's looking royally, you know, frustrated. And then there's a Piranha Plant there, and I was like, oh, is it just, you know, sort of like a pre-order bonus is like another assist trophy? Then the Piranha Plant pops out and dodges. That was a beautiful moment for me because it even, you know, not for a moment did I think Piranha Plant would be a playable character because it's just a Piranha Plant. But, oh my god, they actually went and did it, and I love that. I love sort of taking something nobody expected. Nobody expected Piranha Plant, did they? Really? Nobody actually expected Piranha Plant to be a character. There'll no doubt be somebody in the comments saying, oh, I thought he would be, but let's be brutally honest. You know, 99% of the people who follow Smash, you know, with any sort of regularity, none of them expected Piranha Plant to be a fighter. And yet the moveset that Piranha Plant has looks incredible, really creative. And I think when you have a character that is very limited like a Piranha Plant, you have to be creative when it comes to a moveset. And I think that really shines through. And also, nobody expected it. And I think a lot of people are like, ah, it should have been another character. Again, that's not how Smash works, but at the same time, this is something, you can see it, this is something that the developers clearly really wanted to do. Somebody at a meeting one day just said, you know, we could put in Piranha Plant, and there were some people there going, that's not a bad idea. And I think it just captured the devs' imaginations and they just went with it. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And at the end of the day, you know, a game is made by people. And if the people enjoy what they're making, the end result is going to be all the more pleasing. And I'm chuffed to bits that Piranha Plant is in there. There's loads of references to other Piranha Plant kinds and stuff. Just overall, I really love Piranha Plant. I think it's ridiculous and stupid, and I love it to pieces. Okay, now let's move on to something a little bit more broad and a little bit less defined. DLC. They've announced that there's going to be DLC in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which to me isn't an enormous surprise at all, to be honest. I was kind of hoping that it would be more like a free updates with characters and stuff like that. You know, you just like Splatoon 2, where you get new stuff every so often. But, you know, at the same time, I can understand, you know, there is a lot of effort that goes into each individual character, and it is at Nintendo's discretion whether they charge for it or not. And I don't think it's unreasonable, to be honest. There'll be a lot of people that are weighing up the fact that there are 74 characters in the 75 if you include Piranha Plant, who, if you haven't seen it, that's the point. If you haven't seen the Direct, go and watch it. But for argument's sake, when the game launches, there will be 74 characters, 74 fighters for $60, whatever, you know, however much you're paying for it, whether you're getting the limited edition, whatever. You know, it's less than $1 a character if we're going by American. It's a lot less. It's a lot less in pounds. It's, you know, probably like 70p a character, which is ludicrous. And then you get the DLC, and it comes, you know, sort of each fighter seems significantly more expensive, but it's not as straightforward as that, because when you're buying the DLC, you're not only buying the character and everything like that and the stage, and they're doing them in packs essentially. You're not just buying that, you're also supporting future development, you know, sort of balancing and things like that. And, you know, I don't... A lot of people think it's greedy. I don't think it is. I think it's reasonable. You can't sort of, you know, develop a character and then just launch it for, you know, $1. That's not how it works. You know, everyone would buy it, but at the same time, it wouldn't be sort of justifiable the amount of work that goes into it. But I'm not here to justify DLC. I think it's fine. I would have preferred, obviously, if it had been free and it had been treated more like a service, more like Splatoon 2. But they've decided to go with DLC, and you know what? That's fine. If you don't want it, you don't have to buy it. Spirits. Now, this was a part of the Direct that lost me a little bit, not because I didn't think it seemed good. If anything, I really liked it because it seemed like event mode, but more, you know, more fleshed out, and you know how the characters, you know, you assign spirits to them and stuff like that. It's a little bit like the custom characters and that sort of thing. But I don't know, there was so much information all at once, and I was trying to live blog and cover things at the same time and trying to work out what was key information and what could be easily, you know, what was significant, and it was very difficult to get my head around everything that was going on. It was just a stream, a flow, you know, it was information diarrhea. Which is no bad thing, you know, you know, a lot of people will be wanting an insane amount of information. That's why they started talking about brightness settings, because people will be asking for it, and they know that, so that's why they do it. But it was difficult to get my head around, but I quite like it as an idea. I think it seems more complex than it actually will be. Obviously, I don't know because I haven't played it, but yeah, it seems alright, it seems interesting enough. I don't really know what else to say about it, because we'll be talking about it a bit more when we get on to something else later on. Online play. Now, this is one that has brought up a lot of contention that I've seen on various subreddits and things like that. A lot of people are saying that, you know, they've nerfed online and it's completely abhorrent and how dare they, but I think, basically, the way that it works is you have, rather than going in for glory or for fun, you just go online and it does matchmaking for you, and you say, these are the rules I want. And it tries to match you up with people that are, you know, of a similar ranking to you, Smash Power, global Smash Power, nearby as well to ensure a tasty connection, and who have similar rule sets to you. And a lot of people have been saying, that's terrible, why can't we just go in a lobby? The thing is, it's the same principle. It's exactly the same principle. If you went online, on Smash 4 and you wanted to do For Glory, you are basically saying, I want a one-on-one with no items on Amiga stages only. That's fine, or Omega, however you want to pronounce it. I don't care. Talk about it in the comments. Tell me what an idiot I am for pronouncing it Amiga. It's basically the same thing, but with more freedom. You don't have to go in, to For Fun and have to have items on. You can go in to, you can say, I only want Amiga stages, but I do want items on, and I want 4 people playing. It's much more fluid, and they did say that there's no guarantee that you will always be able to get every single rule set that you put in. But I think there is going to be a absolutely colossal number of people who are going to be going in wanting a 1v1 with no items on Amiga or Battlefield stages only, and that is going to be fine then. You're going to find plenty of people. It's not like there are only 100 people online on Smash at any one time. It's gonna be easy. A lot of people are saying it's going to break it, and it's the total opposite. You've got more freedom than ever. And because, there are only a limited number of options, you may not get exactly what you want every single time, but I imagine there is going to be an enormous part of the community who are going to have a set of standard rules that they only ever adhere to, and they'll be the hardcore people who use a GameCube controller with, reduced travel on the buttons and stuff like that. And that's great! There are going to be people all wanting to play with the same rules, and I think this is the best way they could have done it. There's also multiple people on a single Switch console going online at the same time. I think that's only 2v2, which I feel is a weird way of doing it. I don't know why you can't have 2 people on the same console, go online with another person with 2 people on the same console, or 2 other consoles, and play, just 4-player free-for-all. Or maybe they can, maybe you can, it wasn't especially clear. But it did seem to be that you can only do 2v2, which, weird. I mean, sounds fun, but I would do free-for-all. Oh, there's a free-for-all. Oh yeah, there's another thing. This wasn't, as far as I know, mentioned in the Direct. Maybe it was, because I was there watching it and typing at the same time, so really could not get every single bit of information. I have rewatched it, but even then, I get distracted. So maybe they did mention it. But when you want to play online, you can actually do background matchmaking in the same way as ARMS can. You know, you can say, I wanna play, you know, I want to play online ranked, and then it goes, okay, we'll find you someone. But in the meantime, rather than just staring at a screen saying, looking for someone, you can just go off and play another mode. So you can just go off, you can play just play a little thing against CPUs, maybe just as a warm-up. If you have some very specific rule sets and you want to make sure that you get matched up properly, you could do that and just, waddle off. And also there's Elite Smash as well. We need to talk about that. When your global Smash power gets high enough, you are immediately eligible to go into Elite Smash. And this is the hardcore people. This is the people who play Smash like ultra properly, and you're going to be able to go in there, and it's basically going to be like a no casuals zone. So you're going to be able to play some really hardcore, serious games of Smash online. And yeah, I think that's a great inclusion, because not only does it mean that the really hardcore audience, the people that really want to have a really serious game of Smash, which often is myself included, can go in there and not fear that they're going to be matched up with people who are really too easy for them, and it's just going to be far too much of a breeze. But also, the people who want to play more casually aren't going to have all these people that are just going to wipe the floor with them all the time. I think it's brilliant. It's a great way of creating that sort of, not divide, but that compartmentalism, without actively like splitting people apart, because people can, people who are elite rank can still go in the other one, Then there's also the Smash World, which is the smartphone app thing. We don't know anything about this yet. Obviously, voice chat uses the smartphone app, which we've covered to death, so I'm not going to talk about that. But Smash World, which is basically kind of like Splatnet 2, but for Smash, which is something that a number of people have predicted. Yeah, it's a good idea. I would be really interested to see if there's some sort of integration with spirits, because, sort of maybe there's some sort of Fire Emblem Heroes style thing where you can, because it is very similar to Fire Emblem Heroes as the spirits thing. Maybe you can do that on the mobile app on the go. So you're just going to be, sort of, oh, I've unlocked this, and then it syncs with your thing. Like Splatnet 2 syncs with Splatoon. Penultimate thing I want to talk about is custom balance. Now, this is genuinely really interesting, because at first glance it just looks like a handicap thing. It's just, sort of, oh, handicap's been around for ages, but handicap was done on a player-by-player thing, whilst this can also be done. I'm going to double check this. Ah, yes, you can. Okay, brilliant. I was going to say, and I still am going to say, because it's true, handicap can now be applied to individual characters rather than individual players, meaning that if you have a sort of a tournament or something, and the meta says that, I don't know, Incineroar is too powerful, you can actively nerf the damage that each person does. Or if someone's, far too weak, like Bowser, you can buff them. And this is something that is, it seems like such a small thing, but for the tournament scene and stuff like that, it's massive, because all of a sudden, if there's, if there's balancing issues that the devs haven't quite sorted out yet, and the inclusion of, 74 characters plus DLC, there are bound to be some balancing issues. There always are, there always will be. No fighting game like this is ever going to be perfect. So, but tournament, if there's sort of an agreed rule in a tournament that say you nerf Incineroar 10% and you buff Bowser 10% or 20% or whatever, you can do that and you can level the playing field, and all of a sudden people can play with characters. It massively opens things up. Maybe people will even play Alf, because I bloody love Alf. It's a small change, but I think it has big implications, and I think that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And the last thing I want to talk about, oh my god, I was so pleased when they announced this. New Mii fighter costume. World of Light. Oh my giddy arse. This is just, it's wonderful. I know, sort of the gameplay is basically just, it's still just fights. It's very similar to the Spirits thing. It's kind of like event mode and stuff like that. but just the fact that they've wrapped it up with this story, and it's only a very basic story, but even so, and you know, that there are boss battles and stuff like that, and you run around, and it genuinely feels like there's a real gravity to what's going on. And Sakurai has said that they want to focus more on fun and not story, and I get that. So it's not going to be like the Subspace Emissary, I think, and they've said that time and time again. Even in the PR, it says, unlike the Subspace Emissary. They are really hammering home that this is not the Subspace Emissary, which, you know, so I can totally understand. They don't want to, you know, they don't want people to feel cheated, basically. But I think this looks almost like a better fit for Smash overall, because I really like the Subspace Emissary, but when I think people will really attach to the story, and it's so many different characters interacting, and you still got that, but rather than being, you know, you're fighting a load of, you know, nameless peons, instead you're actually fighting characters, and they're, you know, bringing characters from so many games, like Smokey Pog, come on! Smokey Pog possesses Mario and starts controlling him, and you're fighting Smokey Pog in Mario's body. And I know, you know, sort of, it could be seen as sort of like a cheap way to include loads of other characters, but is there any other way they could have done it? I think the fact that they've even gone to the effort of having the spirits, you know, mechanic and stuff like that, and having it work so well into the adventure mode, I think it is absolutely phenomenal, and I absolutely praise the hell out of the entire dev team for being able to find a way to integrate so many characters in a genuinely meaningful way, but without doing, you know, without doing the impossible, because God knows how many spirits there are. God knows how many they're going to add in the future, because I imagine they're going to do that as well. No confirmation on that, but I do imagine they will. So you can have things like, you can have Joan, the turnip seller, involved in Smash, and not just a trophy. I do kind of miss the trophies because they're gone now. But, you know, actually involved now, if only in a piecemeal way. But they are actually involved. It feels like they've gone the extra mile, but they've made it more in keeping with Smash as a whole. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I don't think, you know, it's probably going to be as, at least the story is going to be as memorable as the Subspace Emissary. I don't know, because I haven't played it. But I do think this, you know, given how Sakurai feels about what happened with the Subspace Emissary and everybody leaking the videos online, I think this is genuinely a really lovely thing. They've acknowledged that people love this kind of thing, and they've gone, yeah, we love this kind of thing too. Let's do it. And I think that's genuinely lovely. And I'm really ruddy pleased. I really am. And they were brutal in that cutscene, weren't they? Oh my god! Like, all the little things that people have noticed about it, and they obviously completely passed me by because, you know, I'm only one person watching and I don't notice these things. But things like people noticed that Sonic probably could have outrun those beams because he can run at the speed of sound. But he was there reaching out, he was trying to save Pikachu, and he essentially sacrificed himself to try and save Pikachu. And,
my ovaries.
Was this Direct as good as the last one? The last Smash Bros. Direct, I mean, not the last General Direct. I would say maybe not as good overall, because, you know, it had things like King K. Rool, which, for me personally, how can you top that? Skull Kid, maybe? But even so, I think this was genuinely a really fantastic Direct. I really enjoyed it. It did sort of get a little bit bumpy and lagged a little bit in the spirits section because it was just so much information. It was like, you can train them, you can do this, you can do it, and it was all sort of, okay, yeah, and it was all information, all sort of fine details, and everyone wanted a new character, basically. But anyway, that's what I thought of it. My god, that's a long recording. Oh my word. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you... And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. Okay, I think I am going to talk about the Grinch leak briefly, and I use, obviously, leak in the broadest term, because of course it turned out not to be true. And I think the thing that I want to say more than anything, I'm not trying to gloat or anything, because I did say that I believed it wasn't real, and I turned out to be right, and I was a little bit gloaty on Twitter, but it was only just because the hype and everything. Also, I'd like to be a little bit gloaty from time to time, but I think the biggest thing to take away from this is never believe a leak. Ever, really. Leaks are genuinely really damaging. I've been guilty of believing leaks in the past, and them turning out to be false. Just fabricated. I'm by no means saying that I'm always right and I'm the best ever, but I do think the best thing is to just, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And listen to what has been said before. Also, never underestimate how much effort somebody on the internet will put into a fake leak, ever. Because that's what we had here, and so many connections and things like that. It seemed, as I said in my video talking about it, it seemed too perfect. Everything there were so many breadcrumbs leading to more evidence, but, only if the original image was true. A lot of people became really quite nasty about the whole thing, and I think some people still are, which is a real shame. And but this is just human nature at the end of the day. But I really wish that every single time you see a leak or anything like that, temper your expectations and realize that chances are it's probably not going to be true. I know a lot of people maybe believed it because they wanted it to be true, and that's even more dangerous. If you want something to be true, convince yourself it couldn't be true because it's too good to be true. Because chances are it is. And if it turns out that it is true, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. I know it's a very pessimistic and potentially even nihilistic way of looking at things, if I'm not totally misusing that word. In which case, you're absolutely right. It is a sort of a negative way to look at things, and maybe you should have a bit more positivity. But these things, that's what these people feed on. That's what these fake leakers feed on. They feed on people getting their expectations up and having them dashed. So don't give into it. Don't let them have the satisfaction. Just basically, don't read too much into it. Don't get the hype up. Temper your expectations every single time, because I've even seen some people blaming Nintendo and Sakurai for the fact that it wasn't real, which is complete insanity. Oh, this is terrible, they should have done this. It's like, you do realize all of the things that are Smash Ultimate were decided bloody years ago, probably. At least a majority of it. Maybe Piranha Plant was, started development this year. I don't know how it works, but things are planned out. They're not going to change things at the drop of a hat. The only person in these instances that you can blame is the leaker and yourself for getting too excited. And I know I sound like an arsehole for saying that. I know I do. But that's the reality of it. Always temper your expectations. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. That's as true as it's ever been. And never underestimate how much effort somebody's going to put into a fake leak. And you'll never be disappointed. Or you could still be disappointed, but you reduce your chances.